So if you want to close your eyes, you can. Om Hrim Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Shrim Shri Swaha. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namaha. Om Hrim Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. All right. So I'm going to start with a story about my Nadi journey. And this is a recent story. So you can see how some of the predictions came live, and it was very recent. So last year in July, I had a Nadi reading for my son, my older son. And right after the Nadi reading, I had a Prashna Khan done. This is the Q&A chapter that I had read for him. And one of the questions I asked on his behalf is that, he has a startup job, but, it's very unstable. And when would he get a good job, a stable job? Now, I had planned a background to this is in July that I had asked. And I had planned a pilgrimage to India in October. And I was going to go to Tiruvannamalai in the October full moon. And that was also close to my 60th birthday. But the October full moon was on October 6th. And that is Sharat Purnima. And that is also the night that my son was born. Now, obviously, the Nadi reader didn't know my itinerary and he didn't know about all of this. But in the answer, what came is, and this is Shiva speaking through the rishis, Shiva said that, yes, we will give my son a blessing on his birthday when his mother is in my Agni Sthal, which is Arunachalam. And so I was quite surprised. And I said, Arunachalam, right? When you say Agni Sthal, the Nadi reader said, yes, that's Arunachalam. And then before January, he will get very good progress, or he'll get some very good news, something like that. So I asked the Nadi reader afterwards, what does it mean he'll get a blessing and then he'll get something which is very good later before January? So he says, yeah, he'll get a blessing, something nice will happen. But before January, something very nice will happen. So then, of course, I went to India and I was in Arunachalam and for the October 6th full moon. And then I came back, around mid-October. And my son picked me up from the airport and he told me, Mom, I got a very good interview and this is exactly the company I want to join. It's a clean energy company. He's in sustainability. And so I said, was your interview on October 6th? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, how do you know that? So then I told him, the Nadi said that he will get a blessing on his birthday. And I guess this is what it was. And then I said, you'll get this job. And so he was, and then he was like, no, I don't think so. It's very competitive. I don't know if I'll get this job. There's hundreds and thousands of people who will get this, interview. So I said, no, don't worry. I'm sure you'll get this job. And in December, he started his job. And so that's why I told him, isn't it incredible? And, the recording is there. You can hear it. it says that on your birthday, I'll bless you. And then before January, you'll get some very good news. It'll all be fine. And it also mentioned, his mother is praying for him and all of these things. So this is something which is very tangible and very, very accurate. I mean, to the day, it was like it said when he would get his job. So this is one of the stories I wanted to tell the viewers to show them how accurate some of these predictions can be. So now I want to first go over the Naadi, some basics of the Naadi. And then after that, I will go over some of the predictions, and then I will open up to Q&A. Okay. So a lot of you might already know a lot about Naadi, and you might have heard my previous videos. But anyway, I would still like to share some basics. So I'm going to just share PowerPoint here, and hopefully you can see it. And the Naadi is basically ancient manuscripts, and these ancient messages were written by the rishis, the sages of India. And in the Naadi, it says, because when in my first Naadi, it said that this was actually written before the start of the Kali Yuga. And this is a conversation between Shiva, the supreme being, and his consort, Parvati. So these messages were written so that the weight of our karma, during Kali Yuga, when we have a lot of karma, we have a lot of difficulties, misery, negativity, Parvati Mata, the Divine Mother, says, please lift your children's weight a little bit by giving them some remedies, removing their karma, and making their lives easier. So that was the intention of the Naadi. It was not really predictions. The real reason for the Naadis was really to make our lives better, give us solutions, right? Now, over thousands of years, these leaves were copied over every 300 years or so. Today, they exist as palm leaves. You know how you can see here in the image? You see, these are palm leaf bundles. And these are etched with a pen, with a sharp easel, and then they're covered with charcoal, and then they're preserved with peacock oil. Um, the script itself is from the 4th century. It's a Tamil script, and it's called Vattelatu. And so this script does not exist anymore. So these messages are at least from the 4th century. Now, some of there was a German man who did carbon dating. Most of these leaves have not been carbon dated. But the person who carbon dated them, it came out to be 450 years old. But regardless, the script itself vanished from India around, I would say, around the 7th century, right? So it was in Tamil Nadu from the 4th to the 7th century, Vattelatu. And so these are that old, at least. So there are many nadis. It's not that, people think there's nadi, okay, there's like some one nadi. No, it's not like that. It's a whole plethora of different types of nadis written by different sages. Now, the way it happens is there is a divine being like Shiva. There could be Kartikeya, his son. It could be Nandi, Nandi is actually a Siddha, but that is his vehicle, sort of, he's always with Shiva, the bull. And there are obviously these supreme beings, these beings will then convey messages to a rishi who will channel them, who will entrance, will speak these messages. And then there is students who are sitting and listening to the rishi speak these messages, and they're scribing it, on the leaves or wherever they were writing it. And then, of course, there are also rishis with their own transcendence that have also given messages. So there are the 7 main rishis, the Saptarishis, but then there are many, many siddhas, many rishis. So I have written down at least 56 types of nadis, but I'm sure there are many, many more. And I'm still discovering more. So there are many types of nadis. I have read several of them, but nowadays the one that is more common is the Shiva Nadi. Say 100 years ago or something, it was mostly the Agastya Nadi, which people thought that there's only the Agastya Nadi. But as people read more and more and more, the leaves start reducing. So as the leaves start reducing, the bundles start reducing. They actually, some of these families, the Valluvar families of Atishan Kovil, where these readers were based initially, they shifted over to other nadis. This one which I'm talking about is the Shivanadi. Now, there are also many chapters in the Nadi. Most people go to read one chapter and they think that's it. It's not true. The nadis are based on the same principle as Vedic Jyotish, which is Vedic astrology. And in astrology, there are 12 houses for 12 subjects. And for the nadi also, there are of course the 12 chapters which are there on each subject, similar to Jyotish. But there are also specialized chapters, like there's a Prashna Kandam, which is the Q&A chapter, where you can ask 5 questions, 5 or more questions. Then there's a spiritual chapter for those who are spiritual and they want to open the spiritual chapter. There's one for Aushadhiya, which is if somebody is very sick and they want to get specific remedies, herbal remedies. Then there is one for politicians, which is the political kandam, and so on and so forth. So when you go and read the Nadi, you have to first open the general chapter. So they go leaf by leaf. What happens is that the process starts like this. You start by sending your thumb impression, which is, you see here, number 1. So for males, it's the right thumb. For females, it's the left thumb. You send that to the Nadi reader. There are 108 types of thumbprint categories. So they have a library. And so they go to the section which is for your thumb impression category, and they will pull out certain bundles. And I think they do some puja, or they will use the intuition and they'll pull out a bundle. So it is not something like logical. There's a lot of divination that happens here. There's a lot of faith that is involved. It's not like you just go pull it out. And they do it after a puja, and meditation and all that. Then they will give you an appointment. The first appointment is to find your leaf. So they will, and you should do this over a video call, and they will read out the information on the leaf, because the leaf will start with an identification. It's like your ID proof, your name, date of birth, parents' names, just like a passport or a driver's license, all of that stuff. And if all that information ID matches, and those of you who are in IT, I call this the primary key of a table. So once you verify that all the ID fields or the information is correct, like your name, your parents' name, if you have a spouse, the spouse's name, if you have children, details about the children, your date of birth. Usually the time of birth does not come in there. Place of birth does not come, but usually. And a few other things like what do you do? And often it also tells you why you came to the Nadi, what were you looking for? And what's on your mind and things like that. So once you identify that this leaf is yours, then they will give you a second appointment to actually do the reading. Okay. So then they will record the session, of course, and then they'll send you the recording. So that is the second appointment. And then, some of the problems that foreigners have is that most of these Nadi readers can only speak Tamil. Some of them can speak English. Some of them can speak Hindi. But I do know Nadi readers who have English translators as well. Now the Nadi's very important section is the remedies, and like I told you, that is the reason why the Nadis were read. When they're stating a problem, they will give a cause of the problem, whether it's your karma, whether it's your past life karma, or whether it's from your lineage, your ancestors, or whether it is your planetary combinations or somebody else's negative energy or whatever it is. The first set of remedies would be for your past life karmas. Okay. That would be one set of remedies that usually you do, or maybe they will do a havan or something. The second set of remedies is mantra pujas for a number of days. Mantra, of course, most of you know, and pujas is ceremonies, with the fire and offerings and everything. And they will tell you for how many days that this would go on, and then you pay them for that, for those remedies. And some of them will also have temple visits. So that is an overview of the Nadi. And then I have another video that you can look at for that. So now what most people are very interested in is the predictions. So what happened is from about July of last year, I started getting a lot of predictions. And because I have helped a lot of people, I saw that, even in their nadis, in my friends' nadis, friends and relatives, the similar predictions started coming. And this was mostly from not so much about 2026, but it was from 2027. There was a lot of predictions about 2028, which I won't cover here. But there was a lot of predictions for 2028, even up to 2032. There was predictions, which I have covered in another interview with Craig Hamilton Parker. But here, I want to cover what I had done last year in December. I had written down 5 questions in, like, I think it was December 15th or something like that. And I sent it to 4 Nadi readers, the same questions with the same timestamp. 3 of the Nadi readers found leaves with the answers, because the answers are pre-written, because the rishis knew that on this date and time you'll ask this question. Now that itself is mind-boggling, right? How did they know thousands of years ago that I would ask these questions and in this sequence? So they pre-wrote the answers. So I didn't find just one leaf. Every Nadi reader found answers for the same questions written at the same time. So the first question I had asked was about Kalki and Kalyug. And why I sent it to 3 and 4 readers is that I wanted to see a consistency, that if all of the answers say the same thing, then it gives me some sort of proof. It's scientific, right? So if all of them are consistent, then they are accurate. They are not fake, they are not made up, they have to be authentic. So all the Nadi readers said, yes, Kali Yuga is started long ago and it's got a long time to go. It's not ending anytime soon. It's the same with Kalki. Kalki is not coming in my lifetime, even though I know who he is, but he's not coming in my lifetime. So because there's a lot of theories about Kali Yuga and Kalki and all this thing floating around. So that's why I wanted to hear what the Nadis are saying, which is the word of Shiva. This was the Shiva Nadi written by the rishis. So that was the first answer. The second thing was about the 2026 predictions. One of the Nadis said, this is the Ati Sukshma Nadi, it said that America and the people who ruled it before, which is the Europeans, will go against each other. There'll be some conflict. And this was read December 21st. This leaf was read December 21st. And what I see that as happening now is this whole thing with Greenland, I feel. And this is what will unravel in 2026, is this America, Europe sort of going at each other. So it didn't say that there will be physical conflict, but there will be indirect conflict between America and the Europeans. Now, it also mentioned, there was another Nadi that mentioned that the war in the Middle East, and it doesn't say Middle East, this is my interpretation, because it said there's a country that has devastated a land and those people's homes have been finished, they don't have food to eat. And so, and it's sort of like interreligious, there are people of another religion. So I interpreted that to be the Middle East. And there will be an expansion in that war and there will be more deaths. Then it also spoke about a country that has gone to war with somebody in Europe. And I interpreted that to be a large country that's gone to war with another country in Europe. And that I figured it was Russia-Ukraine war will also keep going. I know there's peace talks going on, but let's see. It said that, yes, that will also go on and bring more deaths. Um, there was a mention of a internet virus. Again, this is an interpretation because it said, advanced communication method, and there will be, some sort of disruption. It'll be worldwide disruption, and there'd be heavy damage to the world and things like that. So I'm guessing, and it said it will be after February 15th. So I'm guessing there will be some sort of cyber warfare or internet virus or some such thing that will happen. And there was also a mention of a undersea volcanic eruption, and it did not say near Russia, but again, this was my interpretation that there would be something in the oceans, in the seas, off on the east side of Russia, and that and the thing is that I actually verified with a Naadi reader who has an office in Japan, and he has Russian clients. And he said that in the Japanese and in the Russians people's Nadis, some Japanese and some Russian people's Nadis, there was mention of a natural calamity in 2026. So that was the question regarding 2026. And I've mentioned this in other videos and stuff, so that's why I'm going fast. Then the Siddhas, I asked if the Siddhas will return and all that, and it said no, the Siddhas will not return in body. However, a lot of people in this age will attain moksha, which is liberation. And that's why this is considered like an age of awakening. And a lot of new age people are talking about the coming of the new world and things like that. I believe that there will be many people that will awaken, perhaps in this later in this life, or at least when they pass, they will attain liberation. And that is something that I look forward to myself. And the reason why they want to attain moksha is, the Shiva said that they don't want to come back. The world has too many problems and it's very negative, and they just don't want to have another birth. So we are completing a lot of karma in one life. It's almost like we're collapsing all the lives into one and finishing all the karma. That's why a lot of spiritual people's lives is very intense, and there's a lot of fast-paced karmic resolution that's going on. And that's another reason why these remedies are very important for us. A very fascinating topic that I asked about was the aliens, and all three nadis confirm yes, there are civilizations which are from other planets that visit the Earth. Their technology is very advanced. It cannot be understood or used by humans. They travel at the speed of light, and they're very advanced civilizations. We may not necessarily see them, and it's said that the governments do know about them, and there might be some disclosure in the future, even though some secrets will be withheld. And this would come in my lifetime, and I think in the next few years. So that would be exciting. And this is not just an American phenomena. I wanted to tell my Indian friends that, yes, you see, the rishis and Shiva are saying, yes, there are aliens, and this is a fact. And the Nadis also said that, in future years, many years from now, that humans would actually start living on other planets as well. And souls will take birth on those planets. So that is sort of like sci fi. And for it to come in a Nadi is, again, very interesting. And, I have the recording. I actually have, I believe, a photo of the leaf as well, if anybody can interpret it, because this is real. I mean, this is not something made up. This is actually factual. So that was one set of predictions. Now, what happened is I actually went back to one of the Nadi readers and I said, I need some more details about this undersea volcano. And I asked Shiva, can you please tell me where and when this undersea volcano will happen so I can warn people of the world? So, and so it said that this undersea volcano would be near Japan, and it mentioned the old name of Japan as Yamato. And Yamato is one of the older names of Japan, and it would happen near there, but it would not be catastrophic. It will happen, but natural calamities like this happen. It's not that it would wipe out humanity or wipe out a country, but it will happen. And it would happen when Jupiter joins the sun and the moon. And that I looked up would be around August 12th of 2026 is when this event would happen, according to the planetary positions mentioned in the Nadi. Um, I'm going to skip to the third point here about the conflict between America and the opponents. So this was August 12th that I said. Now, it also mentioned, but worse than that would be that it actually mentioned the country's name, because I said, is it America, China, Japan, which countries will be involved and where will this happen? So it actually mentioned America. So it mentioned Russia. So the way it mentions this is Rus. Rus is taste. So it says a country whose name sounds like Rus. Then the old Chinu, or there was another old name for China that came, but basically it was Chin or something like that in Tamil. And that was China. And America was also mentioned. And that this will be an artificially created natural disaster. Now, I'm not quite sure, because we probably will find out once it happens. It said that this leader, who's doesn't care about other people and very arrogant and all that stuff, and he will order his scientists to create this natural disaster. Maybe it's a volcano that was going to erupt, and they do something to maybe detonate it and make it worse. Or it also mentions satellites, because it says these man-made planets that are going around the Earth, which is obviously the satellites, that they will use satellites and they will use technology, but there will be toxic gas and there will be poisonous gas. And so I don't know if this is the ash clouds or something. And it said that would happen when the sun joins with Ketu. And when I looked it up, it's approximately August 25th that would happen. So that was the and it said that they will try, but again, they won't be very successful. So this won't be. I don't want to scare people. Okay, so it's not like it'll be huge and people, millions of people will die. It's nothing like that. But Shiva kept telling me, you must tell people to pray, because when you pray, I will listen and I will minimize all these things. And if people are good, right? If we are good human beings, if we are dharmic, less of these things will happen and less suffering will happen, because our collective karma will go down. So that's why one thing I want to tell you is that, everything that we do is being seen and heard. And if you pray and if you are a good human being, then these effects, not just in your life, but in the world, will also lessen, and there'll be less suffering also. Now, another thing that it said was that there is an arrogant ruler of an empire who will arrest or kill a leader of a less powerful country. And it may be from America's neighborhood, is what I'm guessing. Now, obviously, I'm interpreting that to be Trump, and no offense to anyone, and this is not a political statement, but I'm just saying what the Nadi said. And see, this Nadi I had asked on January 7th. The Venezuela situation happened on around, I think, January 3rd. So I'm not sure if this is referring to Venezuela. If not, it could be something that will happen in the future, because it said when Sun joins Saturn. Now, this can also have different meanings, because it could be when Sun is in Capricorn or when Sun is in Aquarius, which is January and February. Or it could be when Sun conjuncts Saturn, which is around March 25th. And it said that when this happens, America's opponents will take revenge on America, is what it said. And it said that it has already started in some minor way, that some things are going on, perhaps in the background. But this will enhance in the days to come. And because of America's actions, America's opponents will react and respond to these actions in some way. And perhaps that is the artificially created undersea volcano that will erupt that I mentioned. But it did say that even though this conflict, there will be direct and indirect conflict between America, it said, because here it did mention the name, between America, China, and Russia on the other side. These two will have both direct and indirect conflict. And it said about this poisonous gas, but it said the country that will again be affected the most would be Japan. So it's like October 12th, there'll be a volcano near Japan. August 12th, there might be a volcanic eruption near Japan. And then August 25th, again, there would be artificially manufactured or enhanced volcanic eruption near Japan. It did mention Japan. And so I wanted to get the word out there to people in East Asia to buy masks, which have filters, for toxic gas. So there's no harm. They're very cheap, actually. And to just prepare for something like that, I'm sure people in Japan already have some preparedness because there's so many volcanoes and earthquakes there. But it'd be good to prepare yourself with some masks. And in case this happens, it would be a good idea to seal your doors and windows and stay inside because you don't know if that gas is toxic or poisonous. So that's my message to everyone in Asia. Now, for India, because a lot of people wanted to know about India, and I asked about what's India's future going to be like for the next 5 years. And it mentioned that there would be a sort of an undersea earthquake that would happen southeast of India. So I'm guessing that'd be near Indonesia, that will cause a tsunami that will reach the coasts of Tamil Nadu. And it won't be like catastrophic and huge and wipe out South India or something like that. But it will happen, and I'm not sure if that would happen in the next 5 years or would it be this year, because I asked about what would happen in the next 5 years. Again, this is about the next 5 years in India, that the leaders may change the name of the current name, because I asked about India and it didn't say India, but my question had the name India in it. The Naadi said that if the leaders of the country change the name from the present name to Bharat or Bharatam, then there would be a lot of conflict, and internal conflict also and external conflict also. So it would not bode well for India if that name change happened. And it said that Mahabharatam means a great war, and it described the Mahabharat where there was so many were wiped out, and it was such a huge war. And so it says that Bharat is not necessarily an auspicious name for India because of it says Bharatam can also mean great destruction. It said. Now, I asked about AI because there's a lot of interest with AI. And it said, of course, technology can be used in good ways and bad ways, and AI might be used in more bad ways than good ways, which can happen in the future. But it said, that there's not going to be sort of any huge maluse, or it'll go out of control, or not basically be in the control of humans. That will never happen. And also, it's not going to affect jobs in a big way. Okay. It's maybe short term, there'll be job losses, but in the long run, there'll be no effect to job losses. One question I did ask was about gold, because you know how gold prices are going up. And it said that these gold prices are going up because countries want to keep their monetary, their exchange, their currencies up in value. And that is why they are buying and the price of gold is going in. But this is short term. And it said, it indicated as though some currency would collapse. And once that currency goes down, or something will happen with that currency, I don't know which currency, that the gold prices would also come down. So that's one thing it said. Now, that's all I had for predictions, and I will open it up to Q&A. But I also wanted to tell you, sometime perhaps in the next video, I'm going to tell you some very interesting information about American politics. And, there's a political lady who came to me for her Naadi being read. And there's very interesting, almost like a news, it was like reading the news. The Naadi mentioned who the next the next president of America is going to be. It did not give me a name. It did not give us a name because she asked the questions, but I heard her Naadi. It did describe who the next president of America will be. So I'll give that in a future video. And she had also asked about the next governor of California. And so I heard the response. And so I will again disclose that in a future video. I won't say it here because I'll make it a separate topic and I'll keep the suspense. And yeah, so that's it. And then I'll make another video about predictions from 2027 to about 2032 and what I've been hearing and what I've already heard. There's a lot of things. Like I said, 2028, there will be some things that would happen. And there will be some political things also that would happen in 2028. So stay tuned to that. Now, before we go into Q&A, if you could, you can close the chat window. And if you can, I request you to please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And you can also, click on this $ here. And if you'd like to support me, you can also give me a super, I think it's a super thanks or super chat or whatever it is. You can do that as well. And super stickers or super chat. So I'm going to look at some of your questions and try and answer them. I may not get to all of them, but I will try to answer whatever I see on my screen. So as far as which is the best, so the question I'm seeing here, which is the best place to get one's Naadi reading done online? Yes, they are done online. They're not in person. And you can go to my website and I have a Naadi request form, but I'm going to actually halt these Naadi request forms because I've got too many and I volunteer my time and I take a donation in return. But I have to start editing my book because I'm going to be publishing my book, Return of the Rishis. By the way, I do have an existing book that you should read because till you wait for my next book to come. There is another book that I've had, which is called Dance of Duality. It's a very nice book. I'm sure you'll love it. It's a story of a spiritual woman. She's a Kashmiri. And it's about her spiritual experiences. And it actually has a lot of predictions about the future. Those came from my own sessions. I had some spiritual sessions, like a progression, like not just past life regression, but a progression where I saw future events. And so from a few of my sessions, the future that I saw, I have mentioned that in this book. And then I have put my contact information here. You can go to my website and you can get the links and see other things that I do. Okay, so Vinita ji, what prayers do we do? Any specific deity? No, really, you just pray from a pure heart. It doesn't matter what the prayer is. God listens to every pure heart with faith. So it doesn't really matter what or how you pray. And Anahat Singh, thank you so much for your contribution. Let's see. Demographics of India are changing. Hindus are declining not only in population but in values and influence as well. Okay, that's a comment. Okay, hello ma'am. Your videos are amazing. Thank you. I have a burning question. What is the fate of Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma? I'd like to tell you that Shiva has told me several times that the Supreme is always in control, okay? And we are like children. We can play in our pen, and a pen has some guardrails. You know how children will play in a play area or pen, but there are guardrails, right? So the children don't fall out or go outside certain boundaries. So we can play in this certain boundaries and we can do what we wish. But I can tell you that overall, this is Supreme's play. This is his or hers sort of drama. Okay, this is Maya. And we have to worry about ourselves. He keeps telling me, you go find out who you are. You know, he tells me, okay. But what I want to say is that we need to work on ourselves. We need to become good human beings. We need to, um, you know, do things that we can do, which are in our power and control. So it's not something that is up to humans, and they Sanatan Dharma will suddenly vanish or whatever. But he did mention that that people are very proud of their religion, and I can tell you something, that Shiva is not Hindu. Shiva is only a Sanskrit name for the supreme. And when I say Shiva, it doesn't mean that he belongs to Sanatan Dharma, okay? Because he did say to me that there are certain ministers in India who are very proud of their religion also. So he's non aligned, and the Supreme is not a human being and definitely does not have a religion or nationality, and neither should we. So, yes. So let's see. Any questions regarding Nadi? You can put it now. Also, um, is it very crowded on Arunachalam temple on full moon? Yes. I actually know the president of um, uh, the saint Ramana Maharishi Ashram. And he was here in the Bay Area. Actually, he said about 3 million people are there on full moon. And I think it's also because of social media and everybody knows. So a lot of people are going. Um, when talking about India, Sri Lanka plays a major role as it is its neighbor. What kind of future for Sri Lanka? A lot of people ask me about this country, that country. I try to ask global questions, not in, of course, for India, because I was born there, I live in America. So certain questions, some answers come specific to India and the US. But I can't ask too many questions, of course. And you can have your Nadi read, and then you can ask questions that are for your country. That would be better, because I'm not in the business of nadis, and I'm not in the, this is not my profession. I'm not an astrologer. But you will get answers when there is something which is a burning question, but it also comes from an authentic intention. If you really care, it's not just for, entertainment, or, you know, to put it in the news or get a lot of likes and views and things like that. No, you won't even find your leaf if it's something which is very selfish or has the wrong intentions. Um, so I don't have answers for everything, but general, I can't say, did the Nadi say this, that, because I've actually shared everything that has come in my Nadis. I've shared everything. So anything I might have missed, yeah, maybe I missed a few things. Some things I hold on to myself because I don't think they should be made public. Of course, personal answers I will not make public, but I can't and I won't ask about every country. And I did ask if India's boundaries would increase in the coming years, and it didn't answer that question, by the way. Um, so, yeah, if you mark it with hashtag ask, it'll be easier for me to know which one is a question and which is a comment. So hashtag ask would help me. So so here's a question asked. Does Nadi talk about when a person will get liberated? Yes, it does. And how would one go about it apart from praying and a sincere heart? How to get liberation is a topic of the Vedas and the Gita. So if you want an answer, you can read the Gita, and it's the whole methodology of how you go from bondage to liberation. And the Nadi, yes, if you are going to attain moksha in this life, it would mention that in the Nadi. And if you're spiritual, you should definitely open your Gyan Kand after your general reading, because that other chapters can only be open once you have your general chapter read. I'm just picking some of these questions here. Another one is ask possibly which planets will be the first to be populated by humans. I don't know. I'm guessing because a lot of attention is on Mars. So I'm guessing that might be it, but this did not come in the Nadi. Ask, sometimes people can find their nadis. What do you think is the reason for that? I know you mentioned that your intentions have to be pure, but I think everybody that is looking for, it should be everybody looking for a nadi. The nadis were not written for each and every person. There would be billions and billions and billions, because now it's 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. You can imagine how many people have come and gone. But it not just knew who would come, but it also, I don't know, probably those who are deserving, who are walking the path of dharma. I don't know. I'm not quite sure, but they picked, whatever the criteria was, there were people and souls that were picked. Of course, I might have had my Nadi read in a previous life as well. But not everybody finds their Nadis. People who have come to me, most of them actually, surprisingly, most of them have found their nadis. And if you do not find your nadi, then it's not your time yet. The timing of the nadi is incredible, because I know a person who lost their job on a Friday. They went and found and had the nadi read literally the next week, and the nadi said that you have just lost your job. So the date, the time that you actually have your reading when the nadi is found is also destiny. It's not by chance. It's miraculous, and my life is nothing short of miraculous now. There's so many stories that I can tell you about this whole thing, because there's a lot of stories that I've had which are truly amazing. And how this happens, and the date and time when your nadi is found, and a lot of the events. I'll make another video about how I ended up in Arunachalam and the sequence of events that happened, and a lot of miraculous things happen. Ask, do Shiva and Parvati live in Kailash? Did Nadi speak about what would happen to China in the future? No, it did not talk about Shiva and Parvati living in Mount Kailash. What would happen to China in the future? I have not asked about China. Asked, does IT industry and tech have a better future ahead? Yes, it did say that there would be a lot of amazing new technology. One place that it did mention, it says, this is the sort of the first stage of this artificial intelligence, because I put artificial intelligence in my question. So it answered that this technology that I'm referring to is sort of like a baby. It says there is a far more advanced technology that's coming. I don't know what it is, but it did say that there is much, much more that is coming. Ask, I remember me thinking, Nadi, me mentioned that we are in the latter part of, and you missed it. Yeah, in one of the nadis, it said, you're sort of beyond the halfway point, and that was a jiva nadi. That was not a kandam nadi. Jiva nadi is blank palm leaves, which divination of letters appearing on the leaf, and this is real, and it's not talked about much because it is so crazy. Where I don't know if you know what Ouija boards are. Where the coin or some object would move and go to different letters, and the object moves on its own. This is sort of like that, but this is blank palm leaves where letters, the answers will appear. So in one of the Jeev Nadi readers that I know, that Nadi had said, and I don't give 100% accuracy or credit to Jeev Nadis, because some of the mind can interfere. The Nadi reader's mind can also interfere in the message because it's not pre-written. So it did say that we are in the second half of Kali Yuga. And thank you to Spiritual, I can't see your full name. Thanks for your contribution. So another ask here by Spiritual and Sanatan. You mentioned that the Nadi, that we are in the latter part of Kali Yuga. Yes, like I said, this Nadi, which was the Jeev Nadi, said that. Let's see, ask by Shivani. Nadi said that I will help uplift people spiritually. I don't know how this would happen. How do I get direction? So, if the Nadi said that something and you don't understand, you can meditate on it, of course, but you can also go back and ask a prashnakan, and you can say, address Shiva and say, this was mentioned. How do I go about doing that? Because in my Nadi also, I've asked spiritual questions like, what is best for me? What spiritual path is best for me? Should I do kriya? Um, follow whose path is most ideal for me? And it said your path is to follow Ramana Maharishi. So, and I've also asked like, how do I meditate? Give me a technique, and it says focus on your breath. Go from the breath, and it gives me. So the Prashna Khan can give you more specifics because it's specific questions. You get specific answers. Let's see. Ask, how do I know my life purpose? How does one connect and interact with the rishis for divine guidance? Like I said, uh, the nadis will give you your life purpose, and it knows that you are reading the nadi to know your life purpose. Because, like I said, when you read the nadi, you'll say they have come because they want to know about their job and wife and family and XYZ. So then the nadi will focus on that because you've come with the intention to know more about your material life, worldly life. At that point, perhaps that is what's most important. Now, if the spiritual life is more important to you, it'll say, she wants to know or he wants to know more about the spiritual life. Some of the Nari readings are more about spiritual life than about practical life, So it depends. And if you don't get the answer there, you can always have your Gyan Khan read, there's Prashna Khan. And Nadis is the only authentic method that I know where you can actually see it in black and white, where you can converse with the Supreme. I don't know of any other sure shot way where you can speak to God. uh, See, because I am a bit of a skeptic, when somebody says they're channeling, how do I know who they're channeling? I can't see somebody speaking through somebody. I don't know. Um, but the Nadi will actually give you proof of things that it will say about you that nobody can know. And not one, many people have told me that there are personal things that come in the Nadi, especially to skeptics, to convince them. I'll tell you one case study. There was a man who was having an affair and nobody knew about it. Nobody. Like, not his mother, not his friends, nobody. And I was actually on the call because it was somebody I know and all that. And I was on the call. And in the identification of the leaf, it started speaking about the lady he's having an affair with. Her name came, where she lives came. Imagine. And then after the call, he told his family, yes, I'm having an affair with this lady. So, this is something, because he was a skeptic. Okay, he's a scientist, and he was very skeptical, and he was only doing the nadi because his aunt told him to do it. And so you can imagine the shock that he had, that that this came in the nadi. So then I know this is definitely from a higher source, and this is one place where you can speak and interact with the Supreme. So I'm going to end in another minute or two because it's going to be an hour and the video will be too long. Um, I'll take a few more questions. I had my Nadi found and read in the session. What do you think about this? I felt like it was a cold reading, etc., extracted information. See, if you have given out any information, a lot of people have this doubt, like he's going leaf by leaf, and I've already said no to this, no to this, no to this. So he's eliminating certain things, and I've said yes to this, yes to this, yes to this. They cannot keep tab of like all the no answers, yes answers, and within an hour come up with all the yes answers. If it's in one session and you're going yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and everything becomes yes, 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 you can see them on video. How on earth they have to be supercomputers to go like that. And even your date of birth, what is the probability that the day, the month, and the year they would know? Look at the combinations and permutations that you can have for date of birth. How can they guess that? And within an hour, you cannot go through all the combinations and permutations for a date of birth. So, but there are fake readers, many, many fake readers out there. And if you give away any information, don't give away any information, then yes, then it's very obvious. I mean, I can make out a fake reader literally in a few sentences. I know that they're a scam. Did Nadi speak about Israel and Middle East? Yes, I've already mentioned that. Will Middle East get peace? I don't know, but it said at least this year that the fighting will increase. The area, that area of the Middle East, that will increase. So I know there's many more questions, and what I'll do is I'll answer them offline. And in the comments, you can please let me know any subjects that you want me to make a video on. It doesn't have to be Nadis. I can speak on any spiritual subject or anything else. But again, if you like this video and you subscribe to my channel, then this will go out to more people, and more people will come to know about the rishis, about nadis, about spiritual subjects. So that would be very nice. And it's also very encouraging to me if you like the video and subscribe to it. So thank you for joining. It was very nice. This was my first trial run of a live session, and hopefully I will do more in the future. So take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.